Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who loves vampire stories, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more enchanting tales like this. The wind howled like a mourning mother over the dark fields of Serath. The villagers moved silently, torches in hand, their eyes lowered in guilt and superstition. At the center of the procession, bound in white linen and trembling from head to toe, walked Mirella, a fragile camponesa with skin pale as moonlight and eyes that held too much sorrow for someone so young. She did not scream. She had already spent her tears. Her parents stood among the crowd, empty-eyed and silent, as if Mirella had died long ago. No one dared to speak her name aloud. Tonight, she was no longer a daughter, a friend, or a girl. Tonight, she was a sacrifice. For a century, Serath had survived under a pact as old as its soil. Every 10 years, one maiden would be offered to the dark mountain, to whatever lived there, a creature the villagers only called He Who Waits. In return, their fields would remain fertile, their homes untouched by pestilence and their children safe from the shadows. Mirella had always known this day might come. Her body had always been weak, plagued by fever, a heart too soft, and limbs too thin for the labor of farm life. Yet she bore no hate for those who chose her. She pitied them, feared for them, and most of all, feared what awaited beyond the edge of the forest. The path narrowed as they neared the mountain's foot, where an ancient stone altar stood half-buried by moss and time. It had no markings. None were needed. Its purpose was carved into the minds of every villager from the moment they could speak. A hush fell as Mirella was placed on the altar. Her wrists were gently tied with red cloth, more symbolic than secure. The torches were extinguished. One by one the villagers backed away, leaving her in utter darkness. Then, silence. Time passed, minutes, hours, or perhaps days, she could no longer tell. Only the forest breathed around her. Her thoughts floated like ghosts. Would it hurt? Would she die quickly? Or worse, not at all. And then she felt it. A presence, a shifting in the air. Something ancient and vast, like the weight of centuries pressing down upon her chest. From the darkness, a voice, deep and smooth as velvet, echoed in her mind. Not her ears. "You are not the one they promised me." Mirella's breath caught in her throat. Her eyes darted around, but she saw nothing, only the shadows. Yet something was there. "You are not untouched by death. Your soul sings." Suddenly from the trees he stepped into view, tall, regal, dressed in black like the night itself. His hair was silver as starlight, his eyes crimson and ageless. The vampire. Mirella gasped. He was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at, like a painting too perfect to be real. He approached the altar, his gaze never leaving hers. "You are afraid," he said aloud now, his voice rich and calm. She could only nod. He studied her, not like a predator, but like a man trying to recall a forgotten dream. Then he leaned closer, his face mere inches from hers. "You smell of sorrow, and something else." Before she could speak, he reached out, pressing a single claw lightly to her palm. A droplet of blood formed, bright, ruby red. He stared at it, then recoiled as if burned. "Impossible," he whispered. Mirella stared, wide-eyed. What did you see?" The vampire stood upright, stepping back, visibly shaken. "Your blood," carries her voice. "The queen. She who was betrayed, destroyed, and buried in flame." A gust of wind blew through the clearing, and with it Mirella saw glimpses, not memories of her own, but flashes of another life, a golden throne, a crown of thorns, fangs red with vengeance, and a kiss beneath a blood moon. The vampire's expression turned solemn. "They sent you to die, but they've awakened something far older." He looked into her eyes, and for the first time she saw fear in his. "You are not a sacrifice, Mirella," he said. "You are the chosen. And now, they have made you mine." Mirella had fainted before she realized he had touched her. When she woke, the stars were gone, the forest had disappeared, and the air had changed. It was cold now, not the chill of wind or snow, but something deeper, timeless, ancient. She sat up slowly, finding herself on a velvet-covered chaise within a dimly lit chamber. The ceiling arched above her like the belly of a cathedral, and black candles lined the walls, flickering without flame. Everything was made of stone and shadows. Mirella blinked. Her wrists were no longer bound. Her dress had been replaced with a deep crimson gown of silk and lace. It fit her perfectly, as though sewn for her body alone. Then she heard it, a distant melody. Not played by instruments, but sung by voices, low, wordless, and hauntingly beautiful. She stood, legs trembling, and followed the sound through a tall iron doorway that creaked open at her touch. The corridor beyond stretched endlessly in both directions, lined with portraits of faces she did not know, but some of them looked familiar, strangely familiar. The castle was alive with silence. It did not creak or echo. Instead, it listened. The voice she'd heard in the woods returned. "You're awake." She turned quickly. The vampire stood behind her, his hands clasped behind his back, as if he had been there all along. "You brought me here," she said, her voice steadier than she expected. "Yes, you fainted. Your body is weak, but your blood is not." He stepped closer, eyes scanning her as though searching for proof of something invisible. "Do you know what you carry inside you?" "No," she replied honestly. "Only that I saw things I couldn't understand." He nodded. "Her memories, faint echoes. The Queen's soul calls to you. She once ruled over all clans, over shadow and night. Betrayed by her court, burned alive by her own kin, she cursed her bloodline to vanish until now." Mirella's lips parted. "You think I'm her? I think you are what remains of her. And if that is true, you are not prey, you are prophecy." She stared at him. "Then why did you take me? Why not end this curse or send me away?" "Because," he said, with something like pain in his voice, "I loved her. I loved the Queen. And if you are even a fragment of who she was, I must protect you." His voice softened, and Mirella felt something stir inside her, something old, something heavy, a deep longing as if her heart had been waiting to hear those words for centuries. "You said they made me yours," she whispered. "What does that mean?" The vampire looked away as though ashamed. The ancient pact was not just one of blood, but of bond. To offer a human under ritual is to give her to the Night King, to me. I cannot kill you. I cannot release you. I am bound to you. The silence returned. Mirella felt it wrap around her throat like mist. "So I'm your prisoner?" she asked. "No," he said quickly. "You are my guest, my queen, if you accept it. I will not harm you. I swear it on the old laws. But you drink blood." He smiled faintly. "Yes, but not from you." Something about the way he said it sent a shiver down her spine. Not fear, but something else. Curiosity. She looked around. "What is this place?" "Ilarion," he said. "The last vampire stronghold. Built beneath the mountain, hidden from the world of men. Few have entered. Fewer still have left." "And those who have?" she asked. "Either betrayed us or became one of us." He offered her his arm. "Come, there is much to see, and you must decide what you will become." They walked through halls of onyx and stained glass, past gardens that bloomed with night-blooming flowers and crimson fruit that pulsed like hearts. Other vampires watched them pass, silent, statuesque, curious. Some bowed. Others scowled. "Not all are pleased with your arrival," he said. "Some believe you should have been killed the moment I tasted your blood." "But you didn't," she said. "No, and now I cannot." They entered a great hall where a long table stretched like a shadow. Upon it sat a crown, dark as obsidian yet glimmering faintly with red light. Mirella stepped closer. The moment her fingers neared it, visions rushed over her. Fire, betrayal, screams, and then love. a vampire kneeling before her, a promise whispered in a forgotten tongue. She gasped, stumbling back. The vampire caught her. "It remembers you," he said softly, "and now the others will come for it. And for you." She looked up at him, her voice barely audible. "What happens now?" he answered with a single word. "War." Mirella didn't sleep that night, not because she couldn't, but because something in her had awakened. Her dreams, once filled with fear and fog, now burned with clarity. Faces she had never met haunted her memory. Names whispered through her mind like smoke, and always there was fire and betrayal. By dawn, if such a thing existed in a place without sunlight, the castle had changed. Servants moved quickly. Vampires she hadn't seen before arrived cloaked in furs and noble arrogance. Something was coming. She could feel it. Kale, that was his name, she had learned, stood by her side in the Hall of Thrones. The crown remained untouched on the altar between them. He had not worn it in centuries, not since the death of the queen. "The council has been summoned," he told her. "They come not to welcome you, but to judge me." She looked at him, uncertain. "Judge you for what? For breaking the pact, for hiding you, for awakening the throne without their blessing. Will they kill me?" Kyle met her eyes. "They'll try." Just as the great iron doors opened, a heavy silence fell across the room. Figures entered, cloaked in crimson and silver, their faces pale and unreadable. There were 7 in total, the surviving elders of the vampire clans, ancient beings who once ruled empires from the shadows of every continent. The one in front, a woman with hair as white as ash and eyes like polished bone, spoke first. "We felt it. Her blood disturbed the binding stone. The queen has returned." Another, a tall man with golden rings along his brow, scoffed. "Or he's drunk from prophecy again, like he did when he let the West burn." Kale stood firm. "I drank nothing. I tasted her blood. The lineage is clear." "Then why isn't she turned?" a third asked, this one with black lips and a necklace of fangs. "If she bears the blood, make her one of us." Kale's jaw tightened. "Because she is still deciding." All eyes turned to Mirella. She felt small, fragile, yet something beneath their stares ignited her spine. She stepped forward, not as a victim, not as a prisoner, but as someone who had begun to remember her worth. "I didn't ask for this," she said. "I was offered up like meat by people who feared your wrath. But what I saw when I touched that crown, it wasn't just pain. It was a kingdom. It was a woman who loved deeply and was betrayed cruelly." The council murmured. "She lives in me," Mirella continued. "I feel her, and I don't want revenge. I want to know why. Why was she destroyed? Why was her name erased?" The white-haired woman's expression shifted slightly, like a crack in marble. "Because she dreamed too brightly. She dared to believe that peace could exist between our kind and theirs. And for that, you killed her," Mirella said, her voice low. "No," Kale whispered. "I killed her." The room froze. Mirella turned slowly. "What?" Kale did not hide from her gaze. "I was the one who pierced her heart, by order of the council, to prevent a civil war between clans." Silence slammed through the chamber like a thunderclap. "She begged me to do it, to make it quick, and I did. I held her, kissed her one last time, and obeyed the council I now defy." Mirella felt tears prick her eyes, not for herself but for the love that had died with that blade, for the weight he still carried. "I don't know what I am yet," she said, "but I know she didn't deserve to die, and neither do I." The black-lipped vampire leaned forward. "Then prove it. Drink his blood, become queen, and take your throne." Mirella looked at Kale. He said nothing, only waited, offering his wrist without hesitation. She stepped closer. Everything inside her trembled, not from fear, but from something ancient and hungry, like a door in her soul opening for the first time. She took his wrist in her hand, but instead of biting, she whispered, Not yet. Gasps echoed through the room. I will not become queen by ritual or command, she said. I will become queen when I choose, and I will rule differently, not through blood, but through truth. The council erupted in protests, threats, warnings. Kyle only smiled. She speaks as the queen once did, he said. And for the first time, the crown pulsed with a soft red glow, not from magic, but from memory. The glow of the crown lingered long after the council dispersed. Mirella sat beside it on the obsidian steps, her fingers lightly brushing its edge. It did not burn. It did not reject her. It simply waited. Kyle stood near the window of the great hall, watching the black sky beyond the stone arch. He had not spoken since the council left. His silence was not cold. It was filled with something deeper. Restraint. Remorse. You never said why she wanted peace, Mirella said at last. Kale turned his head. Because she was tired of war, of endless blood, and because she loved a human. Mirella's heart skipped. Who? He looked at her. A king, from the southern realms. She believed they could rule side by side. She believed love could end hunger. She was wrong? Kale's voice dropped. No, she was right. But we were not ready. The clans feared losing their power. The council feared her child would blur the bloodlines. Mirella blinked. She was pregnant? He nodded once, slowly. Barely. She never told him. She was going to leave it all behind, disappear. But the council learned, and so they sent me. Mirella covered her mouth, overwhelmed. The sorrow she had felt since the moment she arrived now had a face, a history. She died trying to protect something pure, she whispered. Yes, Kale said, coming to kneel before her. And I let that purity die. Their eyes locked, and for the first time Mirella felt the full weight of his curse. Not the thirst, but the memory. Kyle was not a monster. He was a grave. That night, she walked the halls of the castle alone. Servants bowed, creatures watched, but none approached her. Not after what she had said in the throne room. In a library older than any mortal empire, she found books bound in leather, inked with forgotten tongues. But one lay open on a pedestal, as if waiting. A genealogy, a record of royal bloodlines, vampiric and human. Her fingers traced the symbols, recognizing nothing, until she found a single emblem. A rose pierced by a fang. The Queen's seal. Next to it, written in deep red ink, was a single name, Mirella. She staggered back. Suddenly the room darkened, not from shadows, but from presence. You found it, said a voice like broken silk. She turned. The white-haired vampire elder, the one who had spoken first at the council, stood at the edge of the room. I wondered how long it would take, she said. You carry her blood, yes, but also his. Mirella frowned. Whose? The king. The human she loved. You are not only heir to her power, you are the child she never bore. That's impossible. Not if she bound her soul into the future, not if Kale lied. Mirella felt ice slide into her chest. He said she died. She did, the elder said, but not before sealing her essence into a vessel that would be born when the night was weak and the world ready. Mirella backed away. Why are you telling me this? Because Kale thinks he can control you, shape you into what he lost. But you are not her. You are more. The elder stepped forward, placing a scroll into Mirella's hands. This is the true prophecy, not the council's lies. Mirella opened it. Symbols she could now read flowed before her eyes. The chosen shall bear the queen's light and the king's heart. And when the throne calls, only she shall decide the fate of shadow and dawn. Mirella looked up. What do you want from me? The elder's eyes narrowed. To live. To see our kind survive. Kyle loved her, but he also destroyed her. He will destroy you too, if you threaten what he built. and then she vanished into mist. Mirella stood alone, heart pounding. Had Cale lied? Had he left out more than he admitted? As she turned back toward the hall, she found Cale standing in the doorway, unreadable, unmoving. "How much did you hear?" she asked. "Enough," he replied. "You read the scroll?" She nodded. "Then you know now. You are not only heir to a queen," he said quietly. "You are heir to both worlds." "And that scares you," she said. He stepped forward. "No, it gives me hope, but it terrifies them." Mirella looked at him for a long time. "Do you still want me as your queen?" He didn't hesitate. "Yes, but only if it is your choice." She held the scroll tightly. "Then I will decide, not tonight, but soon." And as she walked past him, neither saw the shadow that slipped into the chamber behind them, nor the blade it carried. The dagger struck the stone floor with a sharp metallic clatter. Cale spun in a blur, his eyes flashing crimson, just as the assassin's cloak unraveled mid-air. A figure, one of the council guards, lunged again, faster than the eye could follow. But Mirella, without thinking, raised her hand. A pulse of raw energy burst from her palm, red and golden like twilight fire. The attacker was thrown across the chamber, slamming into the wall with a sickening thud. She stood frozen. She had not known she could do that. Cale was at her side instantly. "Your power has awakened." She trembled. "I didn't mean to." "He would have killed you," he said, gripping her shoulders. "They're no longer waiting for your decision." The scroll was still in her hand. She stared at it now with a sense of finality. "Then we end it tonight." Within hours, the entire vampire court had gathered once more in the throne hall of Valerian. But this time, they came not out of tradition. They came out of fear. The elders stood guarded, their expressions rigid. Whispers filled the cold air. Mirella entered alone. She wore a gown of midnight black and deep crimson, the queen's old colors remade for her. Her hair was unbound, her steps slow and steady, each one echoing with the weight of history. Cale waited beside the throne, but she passed him, walking directly to the crown. This time she did not hesitate. She lifted it and placed it on her head. A silence like death filled the hall. "I am not your sacrifice," she said, her voice strong and clear. "I am not your prisoner. I am the daughter of light and shadow, of flame and blood." The crown shimmered. Symbols glowed faintly across its surface. "I remember who she was. I feel who she became. But I am not her. I am Mirella. And this kingdom will never again be ruled by fear." The black-lipped elder stepped forward. "You are one woman against centuries of tradition." Mirella met his eyes. "Then let tradition bleed." Cale smiled, just faintly, and knelt before her. "My queen." One by one, the others followed. Even those who had once plotted against her. The white-haired elder hesitated, and finally bowed her head. Mirella turned to the crowd. "From this day, there will be no more sacrifices, no more fear rituals. We will not hide in darkness, we will not feast on the innocent. A new age begins, not of war, but of balance." Gasps, murmurs. But none challenged her. And then, from the shadows, the child appeared. A girl no older than 10, pale as snow, with the same eyes as Mirella, golden and red. She had no memory of where she came from. She had wandered into the castle gates at dawn. Mirella stared at the child. Cale whispered, "Prophecy reborn again." Mirella knelt. The girl reached for her hand. The crown glowed brighter. A new bloodline had begun, not of destruction, but of legacy. Under Queen Mirella's rule, the vampire clans flourished like never before. Trade was established with distant human kingdoms. The night no longer brought only terror, but possibility. She ruled not by tooth and claw, but by wisdom, memory, and compassion. Cale remained at her side, not as her master, but as her equal. Together they rebuilt the Queen's vision, and for the first time in centuries the world whispered of peace in both the day and the night. Even those born to be sacrificed can become sovereigns. The past may shape us, but only courage shapes our future. And love, when remembered, becomes the most powerful form of justice. If this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, share it with someone who loves dark romances, and comment below what story you'd like to hear next. Until then, may the night always remember your name.